Okay, we move on. Iran says it will not stop enriching uranium, calling it a matter of national pride. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told Fox News that enrichment is a national achievement Iran won't abandon, despite US pressure. This comes after recent US strikes damaged Iran's nuclear sites. Araghchi confirmed the damage was severe and has temporarily halted enrichment. US President Trump used those comments to validate his earlier claims, saying he'd strike again if needed. Meanwhile, no breakthrough has been made in nuclear talks. Iran will meet Russia and China this week and E3 countries. Washington and Tehran have not yet resumed direct talks since last month's strikes. We're now joined by Mark Sutherland, who's a geopolitical commentator. He joins us live from London to discuss this further. Mark, thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Mark, you have two sides here in regards to these potential talks. Do you see negotiations possible here with Tehran, given its stance that it still wants to enrich uranium? It sees it as a right of national pride. What are your thoughts, Mark?
Thomas, good to be with you. This is, in one sense, this is extremely deeply complex because we would need hours, as I often say, to go through the history. If you are looking at information that is provided by a very good site called Iranian Watch, and you go through the history of this, the Iranians then going back to the Shah, then wanting having nuclear reactors in time for electricity and not for nuclear proliferation, then this is a huge subject. And it's also backed up by the fact that, especially as the Israelis and many other people have constantly said, you are trying to negotiate with an actor that is actually not playing fair. Because what happens is when investigations are then done over time, like I think in 2009-10, where suddenly it's revealed that they had facilities like Fordow, when the Israelis then get information out of another site that was then dismantled called Parchin in 2018, when they then grabbed hold of a load of paperwork and documents, it then reveals that Iran is then aiming for two strands in regard to uranium and plutonium and ending up able to then make a nuclear weapon. And when they are denying that and saying, no, we're not doing this, and they're hiding facilities, this is extremely difficult to negotiate with. If you ask anyone within the Middle East region, we at times within the West, we don't understand. We think people are being very, very honest with us. And there is a lot of being very disingenuous on the other side, Thomas. So we're dealing with a regime that wishes to have a nuclear weapon and then wishes to use that, as far as I'm concerned, and many others, for nefarious purposes. Hence, as President Trump has said for many years, and of course, if you go back to the first administration and then in 2018, where they are then heavily putting sanctions against Iran, he has always said they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And of course, as you are fully aware of Fordow, when you put those facilities deep underground, this is deliberate because they presently they will not stop. They will seek, even after that bombing, they will seek to get what they want, which is to have the whole structure to create a nuclear weapon.
I just want to say Iran does maintain that its nuclear enrichment is for peaceful purposes only and not to make a nuclear weapon. That is what Iran says. However, Mark, let's get on to these two meetings that are going to happen later on this week. We have two opposite sides here. We have Iran meeting in Russia and with Russia and China, and also Tehran meeting with the E3 in Istanbul. What do you think these talks are going to be like? What are your prospects for them, and how different are they going to be pitched as?
I think there's going to be standoffs, personally. I mean, if you take Russia and China, of course, they have been over years providing technology, providing the will to do that, as other countries have. And if we then go into the whole BRICS discussion, this is the opposition to the West. In regard to them meeting with the E3, the European countries, I think there will be more and more stalling. Frankly, Thomas, and sorry to sound so negative. It's looking back in how that they've actually handled negotiations and then pulled the wool over the Western countries in regard to that. And of course, previously, where Obama would say, this is a red line, this is a red line, the red line was always crossed, because on the one hand, they are saying to any nuclear inspectors, no, we're not doing this. But on the other hand, they are then doing many, many things secretly. That is why, in the end, there was the bombing of Fordow, etc. So there is a history here, Thomas, of being rather disingenuous with the facts that they want to reveal, and then allowing, they stop people going into the country to then be able to inspect and find out what they do have. So would they open that up? People have got to be very, very real here. We are dealing with a regime that has an ideology that says, when you're believing in that America is the big Satan and Israel is the little Satan, those things should be taken very, very seriously in their beliefs and what they say that they would do.
Yes, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us, Mark Sutherland. Always a pleasure to have you on. We now move over to the United States, where in a significant legal development, a US appeals court